Awesome.
Hello, Phoebe. You are on the line. Thank you for calling. What would you like to talk to us about today?
Hello. Can you hear me? I called in last week. I ended up crying on my call. I ended up getting notes from Autumn to cry as well last week. So that was a thing. And I got chatting to some people, and they wanted me to call back, and they wanted to know how I'm doing. And I'm doing an awful lot better than I was last week.
Great.
I have hooked up with some wonderful people. I have told some people in my life that Judaism is no longer for me. A friend of mine who's doing the medical boards tomorrow, I gave him a good laugh last night by eating a bacon cheeseburger on camera with him, and I had an experience because that was the first time I'd mixed my dairy and my meat and had bacon.
Wow.
So that was a real experience. And things are going in the right direction for me, but I do have something that I would like to talk about.
Sure.
About 18 months ago, my grandfather died.
I'm sorry.
And my mother has been employing a medium to try to contact my grandfather. And I'm very uncomfortable with this.
Mm-hmm.
And she uses my house because it's a bigger space, and she's more comfortable in my house. But how on earth do I approach with my mother that I'm uncomfortable with her using a medium in my house? And how do I tactfully go, excuse me, mediums can't actually contact your father. You can't speak to my grandfather. How do I approach this? Because I know it brings some comfort to my mother, but how on earth do I go about this in such a way that doesn't destroy the relationship with my mother, doesn't offend my mother, but still gets my point across where I go, you're employing a medium. You're trying to speak to your father. He's dead. I know it's difficult. It was difficult for me, and it's been very difficult for my mother. But how on earth do I approach this topic with my mother?
That is an interesting question. So I believe that one of the primary things that you could do is just suggest that, you recognize that this is something that she wants to do and that you respect that this is her choice, but it's not something that you personally agree with or endorse. So you would appreciate if she found a different space to engage in this, as it is that occurring in your personal space is a boundary that you would like to set with her. And if it's something that she still wants to do, she should respect that despite the fact that it's something she wants to do, she's butting up against something that you disagree with. So you're not attempting to control what she does. You're just suggesting that when she is engaging in behavior that you disagree with, that it does not occur in your space. I don't know, Drag, do you have any differing opinions or insight?
This one's a touchy subject, and so I sort of molded over for a little bit. And I think that asking your mother what she wants to get out of the experience may be the best way to go, because you're not necessarily impugning the motives of the medium, which, let's be honest, all of us here are, because, well, it's a medium, and they're peddling woo and trying to defraud, your family member. So yeah. I think if you ask your mother, say, hey, what do you want to get out of this experience, right? I'm a bit wary about this, but what do you hope to gain? And I think that sort of opens the door for conversation to sort of go, okay, look, if Grandpa says, hey, I love you and I wish you all the best, then cool. Then we don't ever have to go through this exercise again. If you're looking for, the numbers, to the safe with $1 million, okay, we might need to employ this person again. But, you see, that way you can open up the conversation in just a little bit, in order to sort of lighten the mood. But I would definitely approach it very, very gently, and that hopefully, whatever this experience may be, it'll sort of be a one and done deal, and then you never have to speak about it again.
Yeah, because at that point, they're likely being taken advantage of emotionally. And if that's something that you want to quell, that's a really good point, Drag, that if what you're motivated by not only is just your distaste for mediums, which I share, I share a distaste for mediums because I think they're emotionally exploitative.
Yeah, I mean, even the UK government shares that. I mean, the UK government has passed legislation called the Fraudulent Mediums Act.
Oh, wow.
Which implies there are non-fraudulent mediums?
Maybe they really buy their own bullshit.
There's some type of test, maybe. I don't know. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because if your concern is that your mother's going to be taken advantage of, then I think that that's a broader conversation to have. To say, like, why does the medium feel as though they need to continue contact with you? Why are they perpetuating contact? If all you needed to hear was that your father loved you, and you feel as though you've heard that already, then yeah, that's a good point, Drag. That there's no need to continue to perpetuate.
Because I say I want to help my mother try to heal and move on from what is always going to be a difficult experience. I say it hit me very hard when my grandfather died, and that's been part of my growing and learning experience, and is one of the factors into me leaving Judaism. And I'm still haven't broached that subject with my mother, but my grandfather.
The allusion to a continuing
ago,
connection isn't this. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. There's a slight lag. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. That's okay. And she's getting deeper into the mediums. I mean, she watches the Long Island Medium every Saturday, almost without fail now. And she goes, but she knows things that I've never told her, that my grandfather would only have told me, and things. And I know that my mother is getting some kind of validation from it. But
right.
I love my mother, and I don't like seeing her giving over good money after bad to somebody that is, well, as you have said, taking advantage of her emotional state.
Right. Maybe have a conversation with her about how the illusion of a continuing connection is actually the opposite of closure. And if what she's seeking is closure, then she's actually engaging in behaviors that are counterintuitive to that goal, because they feel momentarily emotionally satisfying. And that can form something like an addiction cycle where you're looking for essentially the next emotional hit that you get from it. And if she's looking for an emotional hit to keep her feeling as though that she's connected somehow in a current state to her dad, then she's doing the opposite of healing. She's keeping that wound open.
Right. And there are more healthy ways to sort of engage with, I guess, a loved one that has passed in a more constructive manner. A friend of mine does grave cleaning. And so what she'll do is essentially she'll go down to a cemetery where most of her ancestors are buried, and then she will actually clean their graves. And so, in doing so, she'll learn a bit more about them. And that does build a bit of connection, even though that person's not here anymore. And so perhaps one of the things that you could encourage her to do is you and her both sort of go out and do some grave cleaning, or just, go out and just sort of honor the dead, pour some libations, whatever, you may want to do that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg from someone pretending as though they have a hotline to the afterlife.
Yeah. And I don't know your dad, but I do have a child myself. And one thing that I would say when my message would be to him is the best way to honor me is not to be a detriment to yourself, to perpetuate things that I taught you are valuable and instantiate those in your life. That's the best way to honor me. And first and foremost, to be okay. And if you're continuing to attempt to satiate a desire to feel currently connected to me, despite the fact that I'm gone, that's you demonstrating that you are not currently okay. And you're pursuing an avenue that will keep you in that state. And that's the last thing that I would want. So even if she does believe it's true, that's still her engaging in a behavior that's possibly, definitely, I would say, emotionally destructive, that keeps her in this sort of purgatory, this emotional purgatory, as opposed to moving on with and living the best version of her own life, which I would assume would be what any parent would want for their child, not for them to stagnate in an attempt to try to keep a connection, but rather to move forward and thrive.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the the hardest thing with my mother is going to be knowing that it's going to be painful and difficult for her to let go. And I want to be able to help her in that journey of being able to let go of still not accepting that her father has died. And I want to be able to be there and help my mother as much as possible. And I know that I'm going to have a very difficult conversation with her to help her in this process of being able to go, okay, my father is no longer alive. And I'm just worried that if I approach this wrong, she may find a different thing to glom onto. And I'm just trying to find the best way forwards. And what you two have both said has been very, very, very helpful and very useful. And I'm definitely going to think of a very tactful way, maybe with some wine, and maybe take my mother out for a nice meal and go, let's have a nice chat.
Wine is always a good choice. I will always endorse any plan that involves wine, 100%. I don't need the details, just wine. We're good. Let's start there. Hopefully that helped, Phoebe. And thank you for calling back. I'm so glad that you're in a better state, and I appreciate you calling back. I loved listening to your call last week with Autumn, and I am so excited that you're in a good place and very excited that you're motivated to help other people have that experience too. So thank you for that.
If anyone's interested, Neil, the 604 Atheist, has been in touch with me and wants me on his show. So June the 12th, I'll be on with my story out of
That's amazing, Phoebe.
Religion. So if you're interested in seeing that, then
I am.
I'll be on June the 12th. Thank you for both listening to me, and thank you for everybody who's supported me. It's been wonderful, all the support I've got, and stay wonderful, everybody.
Thank you, Phoebe. Have a good rest of your day. See you later. Bye.